Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, my guest tonight is an English professional bodybuilder. He won the most prestigious men's bodybuilding contest, Mr. Olympia title, not just once, not just two, not just three times, 6 times, and not just 6 times, 6 consecutive times from 92 to 97. He is widely considered to be one of the top professional builders in the history. Please welcome Dorian Yates.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for taking time to come and speak to our audience. We love you. We know you since many years, and we want to learn from you. All the questions will be about learning from you, Dorian.
Perfect, man. I mean, I have, I don't know, I have an emotional attachment to Russia. I was quite interested in history generally, and some Russian history I looked into, and I have been there, I think, maybe 5 or 6 times now. I've been to Moscow a couple of times, Ekaterinburg twice, and another place I can't recall, but I really like the Russian people. I think they're very straight and very honest, straightforward, and not much pretense. So I felt like I got on very well with the Russian people, with their mentality.
Does it remind you your own energy, because you come out as very straightforward person?
I think so, yeah. I don't know if it was much of a compliment, but I remember there was a Russian bodybuilder who lived in the United States when I first got to be Mr. Olympia, and he said, "We love you in Russia because you look like a Russian alcoholic." I don't know if I should say thank you or not, but anyway, it was a roundabout compliment, I think.
Okay, that's his particular sense of humor. You started working out in 1983, right?
Yeah, 1983, and I actually logged everything. Before I started training, I learned from Mike Mensa, who was the bodybuilder before me, that it was important to analyze things, and to analyze you need the data. So to write everything down that I was doing with the training, with the nutrition, with the supplementation, anything like this, keeping a record, and then this way you can analyze it. Am I training more often? Is it am I benefiting from that or not? Or, you know, I changed my diet, or I changed a supplement. Was it positive? Was it negative? And then, you know, you start to learn your own body and develop a game plan. So this was a very important aspect of it. You're asking when I started, 1983, on May the 4th, because that's the first workout I wrote down. And I have every single workout written down for the whole 12 years that I was training to compete.
Right. So my first question would be about writing, but different sort of writing.
Yeah.
Basically, you set to win and you won. Like 1984, you already won the Birmingham contest. 1986, you became British champion at heavyweight for the first time. You are 6 consecutive times Mr. Olympia. How important, Dorian, is setting of goals for you in sport and your life overall? Are you perhaps one of those who is waking up in the morning and creates their day, 1, 2, or 3?
You know, I was very, very regimented, and goal setting, small goals. So we can have a long-term goal, whatever that might be, which is great. But a lot of people get overwhelmed by the scope of this goal, like to get to the top of the mountain. Yeah, but come on, I can't even see the top. It's in the clouds. This is so far away. Okay, but have this as a long-term goal. You can't quite see it yet, but you know it's up there somewhere. But you can get to the first visible ledge or base camp or whatever you want to call it. And once you get there, you can congratulate yourself and then set the goal for the next step. So you're breaking the big thing down into little achievable, it should be achievable steps. So every month I had, this is what weights I'm doing now on the bench press or whatever exercise. And next month, I just want to add 5 or 10 pounds to my bench press, and that's my goal. And in order to get there, each workout, I need to do 1 rep more, and you know, goals to head for. And maybe you don't always get exactly there, but if you get near enough, you're progressing. So I broke it down into monthly goals and even daily goals. Like this workout, this is what I need to achieve today compared to the last workout. So very regimented, but I would say now I'm more relaxed in life. So I have goals, but it's almost like I feel I have more control over the mental process. So I'm less regimented and a little bit stressed, if that makes sense. I'm able to do it now without so much framework.
That's exactly what I want to touch, is the mental part. If you don't mind, I will introduce a work of psychologist, Dr. Carol Dweck.
Okay.
She has been figuring out answers to why some people achieve their potential while equally talented others people don't.
Yes.
And the key she found isn't the ability, it's whether you look at ability as something inbuilt that needs to be demonstrated. She calls it a fixed mindset, or as something that can be developed, a growth mindset. And through some experiments, she has shown that people can learn to adopt the growth mindset and make dramatic strides in their performance. So basically, she said, if someone thinks I'm good at math, I'm not going to do sports or whatever history, and I will not excel at this discipline. While this is fixed, and judging by your impressive results, you're definitely not one of those. You're definitely.
I think I'm pretty good at thinking outside of the box, if you like, and even the environment that you live in can be your box. You know, because you live in a certain environment with a certain culture and certain expectations, and to be able to think beyond that, that there's more than this, and this doesn't have to continue to be my environment. I think that's an ability to believe in yourself and believe in possibilities. As it relates to sports, and my sport that I know a lot about is bodybuilding. So in order to be very successful at bodybuilding, or in order to be very successful at any sport, there's certain physical characteristics which you really need to have. But when you get to the top of that sport, you will find that all the people have these physical characteristics. So it's then what separates one person from another. And in my observation, people who are really very, very obviously gifted sometimes don't develop the mental tenacity and the absolute focus. Maybe because they never had to do that. I'm not quite sure, but it seems to be. And you know, you can have somebody that's very, very talented, maybe 100%, let's say, of talent, and somebody that's 90% can overtake because they're reaching their full potential. So I believe there is some physical boundaries. You know, I couldn't be a basketball player even if I really wanted to, because I don't have that those physical characteristics. But I'm sure that I was able to beat people in bodybuilding in my sport that were physically more gifted than myself, let's say, but they didn't have the desire or the focus or a mixture of those two. That was my observation.
Can we talk about how one should set out in creating their visions and goals? And I would like to begin with this. In my practice, I often see how people that work on transforming themselves and their material reality, or what at least we call material reality, put all their efforts into studying the books, studying the techniques, attending workshops and reading books and science and whatnot, and they set the intentions and they meditate and they do and do and do, but they make a huge mistake, in my opinion. And nearly all of them, and you are not one of them because I heard one of your interviews, they're completely missing a huge piece of this process, the letting go, the letting go.
Well,
I heard you say that after.
As I said, as I got older and hopefully wiser, that is what I was alluding to, that when I was younger, I need all this framework, absolute framework and times and dates. And because in my mind, I'm creating something in the physical reality, and it takes steps and it takes time and so on. But I was also creating it because I was visualizing all the time. I'm not sure if I was really super conscious about the techniques as I am now, because as you say, now I read all the books, but before I read all the books, I was doing it anyway, to a degree. I was, you know, visualizing, believing, feeling with the emotions. You know, I was dreaming this was going to change my life, and there was a different life out there, and it wasn't the life around me. And I was every day, you know, I have friends now, they say to me, oh, it's kind of fun to hang out with you now, because now you're in the room. You know, before, many years ago, you would be there, but not there, because you will be always projecting out and thinking and planning and focusing energy. And I think now I do that now, but I do it with more, I suppose it's what you call faith, right? Like, it's going to happen. It's going to take care of it. I don't need to stress myself about all the details of how this is going to happen. A greater intelligence can make all those arrangements through, and you know, it's amazing when you're able to do this and you see the feedback, and then it's like, wow, you feel like you're in a game and it's time to play now. You know, that's the way you have to get, even if it's one little thing, little synchronicity or something that you focused and something came up. Be happy, be grateful, and build on that. I think that's the thing. And don't if you're going to focus on the possible negative outcome, then you're giving energy to that.
Totally agree with that. Thank you. The more I practice my personal transformation, the more I find that I should stop dictating tiny details as to how it is going to appear.
Yeah, details are not emotions. You know,
exactly.
that's the thing that I've learned. It's not what you want, is how do you want to feel? How would you feel in that reality that you would wish to happen? That's the emotional part of it. And yeah, I was doing this visualization practices before my workout. I was obviously visualizing being at the contest and how I'm going to be and how it's, you know, what energy I'm going to project. So all the time I was focusing energy into this. So that's what I did with bodybuilding, but it's just an absolute focus of energy, which I don't need now. And I can kind of relax and enjoy a bit more now. Then I was always trying to push, trying to build, trying to push, and in the end, you know, this extremeness worked against me, because I got 2 injuries, which I could have avoided now. I mean, I know, I don't say with regret, because everything happened to be where I am now, and that's perfect. So great. I don't want to go back and change it, but I observe I could have avoided those injuries. And then if I coach people now, I can avoid them making that mistake near to a contest and putting themselves in the red zone and maybe getting injured.
Another great skill that you mastered is this alchemy. Again, I heard you speak about this, where you taught yourself to convert your inner negativity and even anger into a peaceful fire that burns inside and can be harnessed to achieve your goal. Can you share some tips how we can do this? Yeah,
I mean, I kind of did it instinctively, I think. You know, some things, and I was a young guy coming out of his teens, 20 years old. I had loss in my life. I lost my father when I was young, and I was still angry about that. And I was angry with the world, and I wanted to show the world that I'm somebody. And I just took all this energy, and instead, in many ways, this can come out in a wrong way, you know, with young guys and alcohol and these situations. often there's violence because of these feelings that people can't process. And, you know, at this stage of life, also you're producing a lot of hormones, there's a lot of changes going on. And a lot of frustration can turn into negative things like violence and so on. So I took all that energy and utilized it in the gym. So instead of it coming out and being expressed in a negative way, which could be damaging to myself and possibly other people around me, I took it and I channeled it into the workout. So there was nothing left of that negativity. It became positivity because it was helping me, building my physique, building my life and so on. So yeah, I didn't even know what alchemy was at the time, but when I learned what it was, I was like, wow, that's kind of what I was doing there, changing something into something else.
Right. Thank you. You mentioned you would always focus the contest environment, your training session environment. You were never present. Your friends were complaining. So you used a lot of visualization skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Mental rehearsal. Before I went to the gym, I would sit down and say, okay, this is last week's workout. So what do we need to do here? We did 7 reps last week. We need to do 8 this week. I need to do 8 or 9, or I need to put some more weight on the bar. So I'm sitting there, I'm doing it in my mind. I'm taking that weight. It's got to the 7th one like I did last week, but now this is getting to the 8th one. And I know I had little routines as some athletes do, like superstition. So I wear only the same clothes on leg day, the same pants on leg day, and different shirts on back day, and so on. So I'm visualizing myself, which hat I've got on, which t-shirt, and you know, I'm really doing it for 10 or 15 minutes before I go to the gym. So I know exactly which order I'm doing the exercises. I know how important this is to me. I know how I'm going to push. I know what I've got to do to beat last week's workout. So I'm going to the gym with absolute focus. I'm not wandering into the gym and, okay, why am I here? And what shall I do now? Like, you're not going to get very far with that without a plan of action in any endeavor. And definitely with bodybuilding, it takes planning to optimize your results.
Right. Now, the visualization skill and the other skill that you also have is the focusing. And these are the two, in my opinion, two main God-given gifts. Now, two main gifts that we use to create our reality.
Yes.
Would you agree with me that with much regret, we see how, especially younger generation, is giving away this gift for no good reason by replacing it with the screens, with the videos, and where will this take them? How will they not, or will they lose their skill of creating their reality because they will be programmed by what they see on their screens?
But it's my opinion that we've always been programmed. Now it's just with the technology. Before it's with the TV and the newspaper and whatever else. We've always been distracted and programmed, and we're not. Nobody's taking you to school and saying, listen, let's talk about how to optimize your mind and how you can co-create reality. And let's teach you how to meditate and how to realize that everything is a oneness and work together. Because there is no separation. You know, nobody's sitting kid down in school and telling them this. Yeah, they're preparing them to work in a factory, to work in an office, whatever, to be part of the mechanism of the system. So there's a whole dark agenda, if you like, that is trying to suppress humanity's potential, not encourage it to grow, because if humanity reaches its potential, then there will be no place for control, you know. And there's a whole system of control and oppression that is keeping the human spirit down, and it has done for a long time. But I do believe that it's starting to fail in its mission to suppress the human spirit, and there is an evolution going on, and it's not fast enough yet. but there's change going on. And if it takes even 50 years or 100 years for humanity to change to be in a more positive place, then that's pretty quick in a scheme of things. So that's my belief. That's what I put my energy into. And there's there's more dark forces and oppression going on, but what's actually happening, instead of shutting people down, it's making a lot more people question. So we need stress in order to change. So this is just what's necessary for the human evolution, the human psyche. Needs to be stressed. People need to look at things and say, this isn't right. What's going on? Let's start asking questions. And then this structure will start to fall apart. And I can already see it happening, but it's obviously it's going to take more time in the, time, space, place, it'll take a little time, but that's what I see happening. And the potential for amazing things are there. There's even amazing technology that's out there that's suppressed that could be a benefit, massive change to the human race. So it's all waiting.
Right. And still, can I, on your behalf, recommend the younger people spend less time watching on their screens?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, we're already in a virtual reality. Then you're going into another virtual reality inside a virtual reality. So let's engage with this world, because you can really influence it with your energy, with your thoughts, with your actions. And this is what we've got to tell people, young people especially, like, you're amazing. You have amazing potential. Just nobody's telling you. Parents are not telling you because they probably don't know. School's not telling you because they don't know, or they don't want you to know anyway. So why would they teach you this? Schools are funded by the same people that control the media and control major corporations and so on. So they have their interests, they have their agenda. But we have to wake up to ours. And once you can get an inkling of your potential, and everybody is still just scratching the surface. That's all we're doing, scratching the surface. There's so much more. That's what I believe. I believe it's unlimited human potential. And that's like what we got to try to get across to kids, because, hey, your screen will be boring once you realize what you can do in this reality. Forget about this game. This is a much bigger game you can play here and benefit everybody in the game. We can all benefit each other. So I think that's the message that's not being told. So maybe people like myself, like yourself, anyone that's got a voice can get that out there.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Can we talk about your spiritual endeavors just a little bit? Because I saw you sharing some of your modalities that you use to reconnect with the source. Are we ever without a connection with the source? Is it even possible?
It's possible, but that's your choice. And right. I think people, they lose the connection. It's there all the time, but they lose their sight of it. They lose their connection. And I believe I've been there a couple of times myself. I have been in periods of very dark depressions, very dark periods that I've been through. And I felt like, where has it gone? But I had to find my way back. And every time I did, I'm feeling stronger than before. So normally these are tests that you need. And you're searching, you're asking to elevate your spirit, but sometimes that requires some dark periods and some soul searching, and it's not what you would wish for at the time, but afterwards you can reflect and say, okay, then I learned a lot from that, and I learned a lot of empathy for other people if they are suffering like that. And it's my also kind of duty to speak out and say, hey, that yes, I have had depression and mental problems, because it's not talked about enough, especially with men, and it's very common. So I also let people know that, and I'm here, I'm good, I got through it, you know.
Thank you. What is it, one thing, on your opinion, every human on earth should do once?
Wow. Learn to connect, however you do it. You know, I did many spiritual practices, from meditation to breath work, plant medicines, you know, extreme kind of physical activity, heat, cold, lots of things. And that was my journey, almost to getting to the place now where I'm feeling like I don't need anything outside myself. You know, a plant medicine, a crystal, or something, or object, or plant, or whatever, outside myself. I'm not saying I would never use plant medicine again. I might, and it was useful, and maybe I get something in my mind, and sometime in the future, hey, I need to again revisit that, and it's going to be helpful. But right now, I feel like I'm just working with myself without any outside sources. That's where I've got to now. But it's been a journey, you know. And I think what I have is curiosity. I always want to know. I always want to understand more, and with the knowledge that you'll never understand everything, and you don't have the capability even to do that. But just to learn more about what's human potential, whether it's spiritually, mentally, or physically, it's kind of fascinating. The physical bit I did to the extreme, so now I'm more on the spiritual end of things, I guess.
Thank you for sharing that. Dorian, if you had the chance to meet little Dorian, through some quantum means, what would be one thing you shared with him, or what would be your advice to this beautiful kid?
Well, you know, actually, I have done that. I have done that when I was not in a good place. And the little Dorian helped the big one. It was like, what happened to you? Why are you like this? Why did you lose the joy for life, and the, you know, the wonder, the joy, the everything that I have now as a little? Why did you lose that? And helped me to get back. And since then, I connect with a lot of things from my childhood. My mother was an equestrian. Oh, she used to teach horse riding. She'd ride horses, and I had a little pony when I was a kid. But after the age of 12, you know, I wanted to be one of the boys. I didn't want to ride horse. And here's one of for me, the strange thing, some synchronicity in life that made me, at the time, before I was even thinking about what is a synchronicity. So I had a pony when I was a kid, and his name was Shadow. And then when I started doing bodybuilding, the first magazine article that they wrote about me, there was like this guy, Dorian Yates from Birmingham, and he's very enigmatic, he's mysterious, he doesn't like to have publicity, he just goes to the contest and disappears. So we're going to call him from now the Shadow. And when I saw this in the magazine, I was like, wow, that's like strange. That's all I knew at the time. But now it's like a marker. Yep, you're on the, you know, you're on the correct path, or something like that. That's how I take it. So yeah, little Dorian was actually able to advise big Dorian. So it was the other way around in my case.
That's
because,
great.
I don't know if it's true, but my friend told me that Einstein quote, that he said he was at his most intelligent when he was 5 years old, because he had the connection then still, like he hadn't lost it through the, you know, through the world, through the distractions and the system that we live in and so on. When you're a kid, you still have that, you know. You often hear kids, my daughter, she had an imaginary friend, you know, that we couldn't see, but she could see him. But I never told her this is stupid, this is not true. I said, okay, yeah, this can happen.
Oh, that's well done.
Yeah.
It's a scientific fact that the child of 2 years old, a baby, 2 years old baby, has 2 times more neurological connections in their brain than the adult of 35 years.
I believe it. And I think now in the UK, there's a professor called Professor Nutt. He's actually, he was an advisor to the UK government at one point on drug use and so on, but they didn't like his conclusions because they didn't fit in with what they wanted to project. So now he doesn't, he works privately, but he got funding for studying psychedelics, LSD and so on. And they showed that under normal circumstances, like around 30% of the brain was, looked to be active. And with the LSD, it was looking like 100%. So maybe it's taking your brain back to its childhood abilities and functions.
Right. Thank you. What Dorian Yates' ideal day looks like?
Well, it depends. I mean, I don't have, like, people ask me what's your routine now. My routine is I don't have a routine, So it depends where I am, what I'm doing. Right now, I'm doing quite a bit of traveling for my nutrition company, DY Nutrition. So I just got back from Bucharest. Tomorrow we're flying to Dubai, and later in the year I go to the US. So it's quite a lot of traveling at the moment. But I try to do some physical activity around about probably 5 times a week. So I do like lightweight training twice a week. I'll do Pilates or yoga like twice a week, and maybe some biking, stuff like that, and walking and so on. So that's part of it. I do meditation work. So maybe most days, I don't have to make it a religion that I have to do it every day, but most days I do, just because, hey, I like it. It feels good. Why wouldn't I do it? And it helps me to create. It's time for me to sit and visualize and focus on things. And I live by the beach, so I live in Spain by the beach. We have mountains at the back, so I enjoy being in the nature. I was getting around the story with the shadow with the horse, because I recently, after nearly 50 years, I recently started horse riding again, and kind of connecting back to when I was a kid, that I was around nature all the time. So that's what I enjoy now when I have, when I'm not traveling. That would be my routine. And I eat just twice a day now. So I do like half day fasting and two meals. So that's kind of part of my routine, I guess. And taking care of, I coach some people in the gym, some people online. I do coaching with that and various other business things I have to take care of. But I'd say my life is balanced now. It's some work, it's some relaxation, some free time. So it feels like everything is coming, as I get to this stage in my life, everything seems to be balancing out. My bodybuilding career was very extreme in that it was very disciplined, and I didn't go to socialize and all these things. And then when I retired, I was going to the other way, socializing maybe too much, and the drinking and the drugs and everything. So it went from one extreme to the other in order to swing back to the middle ground, which is where I've got in the last few years, I think. So I'm at a place that I feel really good. I'm projecting my future, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Let me conclude with this last question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the sun's going down here, man.
Now
now I'm the shadow again.
Shadow, yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. So that is another synchronicity in our interview. Now, the collective humanity today is unfortunately going through a lot of stress, unprecedented amount of stress. I don't want to name the names, but you know what was happening in the last couple of years. What would be Dorian Yates' advice? How can we keep living heart-centered in these extraordinary times? What would be your advice to people whose lives are affected by today's madness and this endless evil manipulation of our minds?
Well, it brings me back to a vision I had, a vision or a message that I had in 2009, in the summer of 2019, when I was in Costa Rica and I was doing an ayahuasca camp with 20 people there. And I said, I got something to say. And it's like this. I see that the planet, the earth, the mother, is going to go through a change. There's going to be a change. And it's shown to me like it's like childbirth. So childbirth is very stressful. It's very painful. I mean, you know, there can be blood, there can be shit. It's traumatic. But what comes out of this traumatic event is a new life, a beautiful new life. So we have to go through this storm. We have to go through this period of stress and pain and anguish and everything. And yes, it's affecting everybody, yeah? But how we handle it, I believe that it's necessary. Because if everything stayed the same, the status quo, then where's the change? There's no change, right? So there needs to be a lot of stress, a lot of things going on. It's almost like the darkness that has been hiding and manipulating from the shadows has now got a little bit of light shining on it. And if you're alert, you can actually see the guys behind pulling the strings now. And people are starting to see and starting to say, hey, I don't want that. You know, you got to see what you don't want before you can say that you don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see this thing that you don't want. You're not aware of it. How can you say you don't want it? So it has to be revealed. And that is going to be a stressful period. And if humanity, the majority of humanity actually knew everything that had gone on and the reality of everything at this point, everything that's happened in history and everything that's happening and the reality of things on this planet, I don't think they would be able to handle it. Yeah, all at once. It would, like, I don't think people's brains would handle it if they're not attuned to it somewhat. It will be too much. So I think it's being slowly revealed, and that's the process, and it's going to be stressful. But smile, man. Don't worry about it. We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it, and there's a purpose, and there's a purpose why certain people are here at this time in this lifetime. I think we volunteered for it, like warriors or volunteers, that we're here now at this time to help this shift, to give it a little push, to do everything we can do, because you're not powerless, yeah? You're not powerless. Your thoughts have power. If your thoughts didn't have power, why would there be a whole system in trying to shut down your power? Because the system of darkness or control is getting desperate now. Is bringing out, it's bringing out everything now. Everything is got, because people are waking up, and it's this time, and it's inevitable, and it's already been written, and it's already happening. So let's just flow with it, man.
Excellent. Thank you, Dorian. Thank you for being a real warrior. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you for
sharing.
I'm
doing my best, man. I'm doing my best, like everybody. You know, just do your best and try to keep focused on the positive. Do I have down days? Do I have down moments? Yes, I do. It's important to say it's not all sunshine and light all the time, but let's head in that direction. Yeah, let's keep focused on that, and believe in yourself, believe in your abilities, because we all have this ability. And maybe somebody like myself or somebody that's achieved something, as I said, maybe they're tapping into a couple of percent. That's all. there's much more. There's much more in there, and let's find out where it takes us.
Perfect. I'm happy to be on that journey with you, man. Really, really happy.
Run it together, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your energy.
Thanks, man. Pleasure speaking to you, and we stay in touch, man.
Stay in touch by all means.
Right, let me know when the episode is ready to release and everything. We give it a shout, you know?
For sure, I will send the link, for sure.
Okay.
Thank you. До свидания. Ciao. Thank you.